What's up, people? Back with another reaction video. I watched this video yesterday, and I just had to do one on it. This video is like the one of those GOAT comparisons, talking about Michael Jordan and LeBron James. And when it first started off, it sounded like it was gonna be something good. It sounded like he was gonna give me some good facts or whatever like that. And I started listening to it, and the whole time he just started laying stuff not in context. It was no context in none that he was saying. And he left out a lot of stuff about LeBron James just so it could seem like his point was being good. Like his point was good. Like it was just bad, man. It was just bad. And I had to do a reaction video on it, and here we go.
I've heard a lot of NBA greatest of all time debates, but I've never heard anyone attack it from what I'd consider a purely logical perspective. We'll get to the bottom of this debate once and for all, right now. First off, before we can discuss who the GOAT is, we need to choose a top two to debate. I mean, how do we just skip Kobe, Kareem, Magic, Hakeem, and Tim Duncan? Here are the usual suspects most people put in their top 10. Disclaimer, I did not include Bill Russell because the league only contained about 10 teams during his era. So sorry, Bill. Also, no Steph Curry, because I don't think anyone would consider him the GOAT. Same with Larry Bird. Either way, they would have fallen out of my criteria anyway. To be the GOAT, you must have the following. Consistency. 10 All-NBA selections. To date, only 25 players all time have made 10 All-NBA selections. Luckily, everyone here makes the cut. LeBron has the most of these all time, but no extra credit for that. Defense. 5 All-NBA defensive teams. You had to demonstrate that you could play defense.
Now, you see, if anybody see what he did there, now, the consistency, I can go with that one. We can have that one. But he did 5 for a reason. He did 5 for a reason now. And you're going to see some later on. Well, I'm going to wait till he get done talking about this. Then I'm going to show you what he left out on purpose.
The highest level for a decent portion of your career. Once you've established yourself as a defender, as you get older, you get smarter, and the greats will usually then just pick their spots in high leverage moments. So making at least 5 All-NBA defensive teams seems reasonable. Sorry, Magic, you have 0 all-defensive selections. Tim Duncan has the most all-defensive selections, just to note. Most valuable. At least 3 regular season MVPs. MVPs can be tricky, but at least 3 times in your career, your greatness should give the MVP voters no other choice.
And you see again, he's limiting everything so LeBron James can stay in the conversation. If you see, you just making sure that y'all understand. So now he's saying 3 regular seasons because he know most of everybody had the 3 that had 4 or 4 more, they on here. So he's doing this on purpose to try to discredit everybody else. He trying to make sure LeBron is in the conversation. Here we go, starting back.
Sorry, Kobe, Hakeem, and Duncan. All-time greats, but not good enough to be considered a GOAT candidate. Kareem leads the way with the most MVPs. Finals MVPs. At least 3 times, you led your team to a championship. Sorry, Kareem. All-time great, but you just didn't collect enough Finals MVPs. Michael Jordan.
Now I'm gonna stop it right there, because even though I don't think Kareem is the GOAT, I think that was, he's saying led his team. This man got 6 championships. Kareem is the all-time leading scorer all time. He did a lot. He just didn't do a lot later on when he got some championships. He wasn't the MVP of that. So of the finals, but he was heavily regarded as the best player on his team most of his finals. He might not have got the finals MVP, but he was clearly one of the best players on his team and the most best player on his team for at least 4 of his championships. But he's doing that on purpose because it only fits LeBron James.
Jordan leads the way in this category, most final MVPs all time. Surprise, surprise, look at the only 2 left. So how will we choose between these 2? Can we use stats? Most people try, but one could make the numbers lean any way they want. It would essentially come down to LeBron has the stronger career and weaker statistical prime, and MJ had the weaker career but stronger statistical prime.
This is another misconception that people try to do. See, now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what he just did then. If it came to stats, he knew that LeBron wouldn't win that. He knew it. That's why he's going to discredit the stats. First of all, I don't get what these people keep on talking about. Michael Jordan's career was strong for 13 years in the NBA. Just strong. It was not weaker. No, I don't know. You can't call it weak. How you went to the championship 6 times, never missed the playoffs your whole Bulls career. Never missed the playoffs. But he was weaker because what they keep on trying to do, because LeBron don't play more years, they trying to make that a bigger deal than actually what happened in those 20 years. What happened in Michael Jordan 13 years with the Bulls is way better than what happened with LeBron in his 20 years. We all know this. They try to keep that crazy misconception of he been in there longer so he's better. No, that just means you stayed in the league longer. That's the only thing it means. You stayed healthy, you stayed in the league longer. Okay. We ain't knocking you for it, but that don't put you up nowhere if you ain't you haven't even got the accomplishments that I have, and you've been in there 5 to 6 more years than me. You still haven't caught me. So how is that making you better? No, it just mean that you still trying to catch me. That's it.
MJ's scoring titles, Defensive Player of the Year, versus LeBron's All-NBA selections, assist title, and soon-to-be all-time leading scorer. Since we already have our top 2, this criteria is less relevant. These guys are already the creme de la creme.
See, he did that on purpose. Okay, now, how you gonna making the all? If you go back and look at, he made one of his criteria 5 all defense selections, right? He made that one of his criteria. But then you ain't gonna make someone being the defensive player of the year a criteria. You gonna just leave that off? That should count even more. If you gonna go by all defensive, the man got the defensive player of the year. That's just like he did Hakeem. Hakeem, I think he got it twice. Like he just leaving off stuff so it can benefit LeBron James. That's what he doing. He just leaving off stuff so he can benefit LeBron James. But he ain't putting in none of the facts. Nothing else. Only thing he gonna do is just try to discredit Michael Jordan.
So on this higher plane, I won't use purely stat-driven criteria. And we use leadership. How do you measure or estimate leadership? Sulking on the bench? Punching much smaller teammates? They were both quality leaders and led multiple championship teams.
Okay, let's go here. Let's be real. If anybody watch both play, there's no way that you think that LeBron James is the equal leader as Michael Jordan was. There's no way. First off, Michael Jordan played 13 years with the same team. He didn't leave his team. He retired one time because he had problems. No matter what you want to say, though, he had some problems that he retired for a year and a half. Yes, he did it. But he came, and when he did come back, he came back to the same team. LeBron James and Michael Jordan didn't leave because of competition. He didn't leave because of competition. He left for other reasons that had nothing to do with basketball. Now, and he was a leader. He made his team better. And I'm gonna show you how we say making somebody better. And this is, I think he's gonna touch on this, but he didn't touch on it the right way. And I don't even know if I want to say this right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'll say it again when it comes to it. I think he made a point where when Michael Jordan left the Bulls still won 50-something games, right? But when LeBron leaves, his teams, they just fall to the bottom. So what I'm gonna ask people is, who's made their team better? Is it because before Michael Jordan got there, the team wasn't good at all? But he groomed all his players to where they had a championship mentality, where when he did leave, they still was able to win a lot of games. He made them better players at practice, not just in the game. He made them better players at practice. So when they got in the game, it came easy to them. Not just if he passed them the ball that made them a better player. That doesn't make you a better player. You're not making someone a better player when you pass them the ball. You make them a better player by making them work hard and pushing them to their limits. So when they do get in the game, they already used to the adversity. That's how you make your teammate better, not passing them the ball. And LeBron James has left every time he left his teams. LeBron James have left teams that he went to the NBA Finals with. And then the next year he leaves. His last three times leaving, 2 times leaving, he left after a championship. So now if your team, you telling me you can't get your team over the hump the next year, and y'all just went to the championship. He got to have everything perfect for him to win, instead of him being the man on the team and taking them over the hump. The Miami Heat, he left after they just lost the championship to the Spurs and went back to Cleveland. But you just left the championship. So that means he want a perfect team. And that's what he always been trying to do. He's been trying to get a perfect team ever since he left Cleveland the first time. So then he went back to Cleveland. Won a championship there. And we ain't going to even talk about that. We can talk about it, but he won a championship in Cleveland, went 2 more years in a row, and then left Cleveland again. Just because he can't will his team to win. So how is that a good leader? That's not a good leader. That's not making your team better. That's leaving when it get hard. That's leaving when the competition is too hard for you. You can't just play. You got to have every player on the team perfect for you to be able to win. And that's the only time you won. That's the only time you won.
The eye test? The eye test is the most deceiving and subjective criteria ever used. Players who grew up idolizing these guys and fawning over their greatness are hardly objective. Skip Bayless, Jalen Rose, Kenny Smith just can't let go of a romanticized era in which they became men.
See, and then now he gaslighting. He trying to discredit all these people like they don't know what basketball is. He's trying to discredit all these people like they don't know what basketball is. Now they romanticizing something. See, this another stat what he don't want. He know if people see it ain't even about Jalen Rose and Skip Bayless and people he just said. What it's about, he know if people, you don't judge basketball the way that he's finna try to judge it. Nobody judges it that way. And he talking about logic. He ain't got no logic in what he just saying, because you got to look at the players play. You got to look at how they play to determine if who's better or not. That's what the GOAT conversation is really about too. The GOAT conversation is about who's the better actual player combined with all the accolades. Combined, not just one or the other. It's how good you are, all your skills, all that combined with your accolades, not just one or the other. And he's purposely trying to take out how they actually play to help LeBron James' case out, but he can't do it with somebody that know basketball.
It'll become the same story in another 15 years or so with LeBron once there's enough turnover at ESPN and FS1. It's just too subjective, so no to the eye test. Let's attack this problem.
See, he know what's going on. He know what's going to happen. So he would love to do that. He would love to say that there's no you don't need the eye test. The eye test is the most important one. You got to see how the person plays. You can't just, what else you going to look at? You want to just look at the stat numbers? Like, that don't even make no sense. You just talking. He just talking at this point. After this, I already knew what it was going. But we'll continue.
Scientifically, similar to how scientists determine how elements interact, methods that literally govern your entire lifestyle, from the foods we determine safe to eat to the technology you are using to watch this video.
He doing a lot of fluff right now, trying to make you forget what he said before. That's all he doing.
Here's a 30-second refresher on basic control test experiments, like Science 101 in middle school. In this example, you have dependent variables, which are what we want to measure. Here, for example, an athlete's impact on winning. The independent variables are those we can tweak or play with to see how it affects the athlete's impact on winning. For example, here, we can test by giving the athlete poison or a placebo. The outer circle here contains the controlled variables, or the environment that we are trying our best to keep the same for our tests. For controlled variables, or the environment, we have to make some assumptions. The NBA competition was similar enough to be negligible. The eras in which they played can be compared. If you are not willing to make these assumptions, then even engaging in a GOAT debate with these two is a moot point, and you must subscribe to the idea of multiple GOATs for each era.
That's what he wants to do. So now he gonna try to discredit that part of it. He gonna try to discredit and say, if you don't use that or go by that, then you can't even have the debate. That is a lie. You gotta go by the competition and how the game was played at the time. You gotta go by that. If rules have changed where you can do certain stuff, see, that's how you gotta know you gotta be able to, you gotta play basketball. You gotta be able, you gotta see, you gotta be a basketball player to understand some stuff that people talk about. See, to me, I can't see him being a basketball player. I think he just watches basketball. Because you got to understand, people holding you, hand checking you, filing you, doing all that stuff, that plays a big difference in your game. It plays a big difference. And when they was able to do it, and you still being able to score on them, that's showing a difference in your ability than everybody else's. So you've been able to hand check, foul, all the certain fouls when called the same way, certain things when called the same way as they are now in LeBron's era. Now you can't knock him for it, but you got to still see that he don't even score he can't even score like Michael Jordan under the conditions that he got now, and they're not tougher. His conditions are not tougher than Michael Jordan's. Nobody really even can play defense these days. You don't see nobody getting praised for being no good defensive player. Because the rules have been changed to where the defense darn near got to just move out your way. If they don't move out your way, they get in the foul. Well, we go, keep going.
What we are doing here, we will choose the GOAT. In order to even get close to a logical proof, we must isolate these players or variables as much as possible. How do we isolate them? We remove and or tweak independent variables. The only independent variables we can manipulate in a retrospective fashion would be specific teams and coaches. Let's start by using coaching as an independent variable. Here are the coaches each player won championships with. Michael Jordan, he won all 6 with Phil Jackson. Impressive, 6 rings. LeBron won his 4 rings with a combination of 3 different coaches: Frank Vogel, Ty Lue, and Eric Spoelstra. How did LeBron and Michael fare without these coaches? Obviously, LeBron won absent each coach. Michael Jordan, however, never won without Phil Jackson. How did these coaches, independent variables, fare absent Michael Jordan or LeBron? Michael Jordan's coach won 5 additional chips after leaving Michael Jordan. LeBron's coaches won 0 chips without him. What does this tell us? Jordan had superior coaching for all of his winning campaigns.
This is one of the biggest things that he said that was so stupid. This was just stupid, and he acting like this couldn't be debunked. This is easily debunked. This is easily discredited. And I'm finna do it right now. Okay. Now, he just said about Phil Jackson. He's saying Phil Jackson was a superior coach than all the rest of the coaches at the time when Michael Jordan had him. Right? If you go look at The Last Dance, because he gonna get in here and talk about the triangle offense. The triangle offense wasn't even Phil Jackson's offense. He got that from another assistant coach on the team before he actually became the head coach. Michael Jordan, at that time when Phil Jackson even came to the thing, Michael Jordan was dominating the league in scoring. He had been the scoring champion for the last 3 years. He was always doing what he was gonna do. Michael Jordan. He just had to have some teammates get involved. His rest of his team wasn't doing anything. So you want to say a superior? So if that's the case, if say Phil Jackson only took them to the championship, would he be a superior coach if they didn't win? Because he's forgetting the only time Phil Jackson, the first championship Phil Jackson ever had was with Michael Jordan. Those first 6 was with Michael Jordan. So that would discredit his whole thing right there. You trying to act like Phil Jackson was already good. He was already coaching champions or something before Michael Jordan. So that would not make him a superior coach. Now, if you want to say when he got to the Lakers, he was a superior coach, then that's a whole different subject. You can say that about the Lakers, but you can't say that about Michael Jordan and the Bulls, because he only became considered a great coach because of Michael Jordan. Because of Michael Jordan. Not because he just was a superior coach from the head. He only is considered a great coach because of Michael Jordan. So that would discredit your whole thing that you just did just then. I don't even know why you thought you could get that off. Like, people don't know what happened in basketball. Then, too, every team LeBron James been to, he lost the first year when he got there. He lost the first year when he got there. The first year LeBron James went to the first time he went to Miami, he lost the first year to Dallas. So he lost with them too, right? But you ain't saying that. The first year he went back to Cleveland, he lost that year. The first year he went to the Lakers, he didn't even make the playoffs. Didn't even make the playoffs. So this man is switching teams just trying to get a super team, to make a super team. That's the only thing he's been doing his whole career since he left Cleveland the first time. He's been trying to get a super team. That's it. That discredits him from being the GOAT anyway. You just hand picking who you want on your team. Every time he don't pick, his number 2 player was at least a top 10 player in the league at the time. At least. And most of the time they've been top 5. AD and Dwayne Wade, they was top 5 players in the league at the time when he started playing with them. Kyrie was top 10. And Kevin Love was in the top 20. Chris Bosh was in the top 20 at the time. So you saying you don't have 2 top 20 players in the league at the times when you got on their team. And like I keep telling folks, I'm going to say it again. I did a whole video on it, but I'm going to say it again. Scottie Pippen, from what everybody's talking about, is overrated. You can go look at my other video. He's overrated. Very overrated. But we'll keep going.
I don't think anyone would dispute that. Jordan's impact on winning has not been proven absent Phil Jackson. This does not mean we proved he couldn't win without Phil. It just means that there's an unknown factor, a significant...
But how would you compare that then? What he just said, you can't even compare that. You can't even compare that to nothing, because what does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. Just because he didn't win without Phil Jackson? Phil Jackson ain't playing. Like, you trying to discredit somebody for not leaving their team. But you gonna congratulate him for leaving his team and going to get on better teams or putting together a better team. But you gonna discredit Michael Jordan for staying loyal to his team, and then give a lot of credit to LeBron James for not being loyal. That don't even make no sense.
When it comes to his impact on winning, it means that in order to consider him the GOAT, you must take a small leap of faith. Phil Jackson winning 5 rings without Jordan is very telling. Phil Jackson installed a system called the triangle, which he used with and without Michael to great success. He had a definitive philosophy and impactful management and coaching style. Offense and defense on his teams were deliberate and forthright. Phil, as an independent variable, appears to have a much greater impact on MJ as a dependent variable. LeBron, on the other hand, has proven that he's not beholden or dependent on any coach, system, or organization to win.
You see how he doing that? Now he's still trying to say LeBron James don't need a system to win. No, he needs top 10 players to win. That's been his go-to thing. He go around and recruit players on his team to win. That is his bread and butter. It ain't got nothing to do with him. It's LeBron James always been in the league at least a top 5 player. So he's a top 5 player. I think that what a lot of people forget when they go to talking about the actual people around him. So he don't have on. He's at least a top 5 player. When he went to the Heat, Dwayne Wade was a top 5 player, and Chris Bosh was at least top 15 player in the league. We can argue 15 or 10. We can argue that, but we're gonna give him 15. Now, Kyrie. At the time when he went with Kyrie was coming into to be a superstar for Cleveland. So now you got, again, LeBron James, a top 5 player in the league. Kyrie, at least a top 10 player in the league. And Kevin Love, at least a top 20, top 15 player in the league. Because, see, a lot of people sleep on Kevin Love because they want to try to act like Kevin Love didn't do his job in when he got to Cleveland. What happened is that he started playing a role that was not the same role he played in with the Timberwolves. He was a 26 point, 15 rebound dude a game when he was with the Timberwolves. So now, naturally, when you say he going to Cleveland, oh, this is what he finna do. He finna be a rebounder and score his points, right? That what you think finna happen. But no, what LeBron James does got his own system. It's called the LeBron James system. So what LeBron did was he got Kevin Love, put him outside the 3-point line so he can drive and kick. That's not Kevin Love's game. Of course he gonna look bad if you ain't playing me like I'm supposed to be played. Of course. You gonna play me out of position. And my position, what I was playing before, was heavily the reason why I was getting those numbers. But you gonna move me out of it? Of course I'm gonna look bad. Of course I'm gonna look bad. Let's go back into it.
Let's try using teams as another independent variable to conduct a test. How did your championship team perform without you immediately after your departure, excluding rebuilds like the Cavs after LeBron's first departure or the Wizards? This is a telltale sign of your impact on winning. LeBron's team records the year after his departure: the 2014-15 Heat. 37 wins, a net loss of 17 wins. Hassan White.
Let's stop it right there. When he left Miami, Dwayne Wade was hurt too. Dwayne Wade barely even played 20 games that year. So now he's leaving out what actually happened on purpose. Like I've been saying all through his comments, he's leaving out stuff on purpose. He ain't gonna say Dwayne Wade was hurt, which would have been their number one player, and Chris Bosh was there by himself most of that year. So Dwayne Wade was hurt already the year before, so he came back and didn't hardly play. He didn't hardly play. So that makes a big difference too, right? Right? But no, he didn't say that. He wanted to leave that out on purpose. I don't know. I'm finna see what he finna say about Whitehead.
Whiteside, who was new to the team after LeBron's departure, was 4th in Most Improved Player and 15th in Defensive Player of the Year. The 2018.
Now again, let's go back to what he left out about Michael Jordan. Now, why are you bringing up that he was 15th in the Defensive Player of the Year or Most Improved Player when you left out that Michael Jordan won the Defensive Player of the Year? He left that out on purpose because he know that is something that you gotta have. He left that out on purpose. And that's just disingenuous at best. He just leaving stuff out on purpose.
19 Cavs won 19 games, a net loss of 31 wins, no player or team awards.
Let's go. He talking about the Cavs, right? Let's talk about the Cavs. Every time that he left, the whole team got discombobulated. Everybody left. It just wasn't him. See, what he ain't saying about the Bulls is that when Michael Jordan left, only thing they did was add players, better players. They did not just keep Scottie Pippen and everybody left. That was not what happened. Scottie Pippen had got decent players around him. Tony Kukoc came and he helped them out a lot. That's why they were able to still win after he left. And Michael Jordan left them with a pedigree for winning, a winning mentality. He left them with that. But then, like I say, he left stuff out on purpose. What happened the next year? They barely made the playoff the next year before Michael Jordan came back. We ain't gonna talk about that. Why you ain't talk about that? Because you choosing to leave stuff out on purpose. Like I said, the next year when they had to play the Orlando Magic, Michael Jordan came back. They barely made the playoffs. And the only reason they made the playoffs is because Michael Jordan came back and helped them out. That's why Scottie Pippen was begging for Michael Jordan to come back. You remember when he was sitting on the bench and he had his shoe and he was telling Michael Jordan, he would point at and tell him to come back. That's what that was. He was telling Michael Jordan, I need you. Come on back, man. That's what all of them was saying. Come on back. But he ain't gonna say that.
Michael Jordan's team records the year after his departure. The 1993-94 Bulls, 55 wins, a net loss of 2 wins. Scottie Pippen was 3rd in MVP voting. He was 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. And he was first team All-NBA.
And I'm going to keep on saying it every time he bring this up. Because he did this on purpose. Now, why are you leaving out Michael Jordan Defensive Player of the Year award? If you go talk about other people even being mentioned in being in the runners up, 4th place and 15th place runner up, why didn't you put Michael Jordan? Oh, I don't have any. But yeah, he just did that on purpose. I don't know what that was about. Like, he just left that out on purpose.
And received the highest number of votes. Horace Grant was 10th in Defensive Player of the Year voting.
Did it again.
Steve Kerr came in 6th Man of the Year voting. Pete Myers, who was new to the team after Jordan's departure, he came in 7th in Most Improved Player voting. What does this tell us?
Nothing.
Michael Jordan played on a far superior championship team. The team functioned very well without him. Of course, they didn't win it all.
And that's all that matters. Did they win it all? They had a whole healthy team the whole year. Had Scottie Pippen, Tony Kukoc, all these people that helped them out. And they had a decent team. It wasn't no great team. They had a decent team. They just won the sorriest team ever. And they played good that year. But that doesn't discredit Michael Jordan though. That really discredits LeBron James, because every time he leave, he don't leave his team, he don't make his team better. He's making them bad. He make them, all his team be worse because he been worse as a leader. As a leader, his team's been worse. Because, like I said, you make your team better at practice. You make your team better as a organization. And then when you do leave, they still got some type of pedigree about themselves. They got some type of pedigree about themselves. LeBron, but like I said, and I take that back too, because like I said, LeBron James teams after he left, everybody was either hurt or everybody left just like he did. It ain't like he just was, he left and that was it. That ain't what happened.
But a net loss of only 2 wins without Michael Jordan is very telling. Jordan's impact on winning isn't as great as it appears. For his championship team to lose just 2 more games in his absence is a significant piece of data, especially since they didn't actually replace him, unless you consider Tony Kukoc a replacement for Michael Jordan. If they had replaced him with a Clyde Drexler or other perennial all-star, it would be more understandable for them to remain so competitive. This team, however, was the Bulls minus MJ. There was no significant addition. Now, we couldn't separate coaching from this data, of course, but it's also significant to see how successful his teammates were in his absence. LeBron's winning
See what I'm saying? See, he doing everything. See, now he didn't even say nothing about Phil Jackson was still the coach. But Phil Jackson's superior, though. He was still the coach when that happened. And he was still the coach that second year when they almost didn't make the playoffs. But he ain't going to talk about that. See, he tried to just gloss over that. Phil Jackson was still the coach. So if you how he was trying to act at first, like Phil Jackson was a better person towards the team than Michael Jordan. Earlier, you remember? He been up under a superior coach the whole time. No, Phil Jackson was up under a superior player his whole time. That's what happened. Michael Jordan was a superior player, and his offense just helped the rest of the team out. Yes, it did that, but it was no championships without Michael Jordan with the Bulls.
Impact appears consistent, independent of coaching, players, organizations, etc. He's obviously not beholden to anyone and is clearly the driver of his success. Let's explain further. We have never seen Michael Jordan even come close to winning it all without Phil Jackson. Yet, we have seen Phil Jackson win 5 rings immediately after Michael Jordan. It seems to be a significant piece of data. The absence of evidence of Jordan winning without Phil Jackson is even more glaring when Jordan said this in his own documentary. Now, I won't read the whole quote. You can see it for yourself in the last 7 minutes of episode 10.
Now, he just said Phil. He keep on trying to harp on because Phil Jackson won 5 more championships after he left. He had two of the most best players ever on his team still. Kobe Bryant is considered in many basketball players' mind as the second coming of Michael Jordan. He played just like Michael Jordan. So he's leaving stuff out on purpose. Kobe Bryant was the second coming of Michael Jordan. Many people believe he was Michael Jordan number 1, Kobe Bryant number 2, and LeBron James number 3. That's my order anyway, but many people think that. Many people think that. And many people consider Kobe Bryant, and some consider him the best. So now you trying to act like he just replaced him with anybody when he went to the Lakers. That's what you trying to do. You trying to act like Phil Jackson just replaced Michael Jordan with anybody and he won with his system. No. Wrong. And people, y'all need to start catching these folks that saying this. Even LeBron James fans, y'all let him really make LeBron James look bad by him leaving out stuff on purpose. He leaving out this stuff on purpose, man. Then, I ain't even get on the big man. You got the most dominant player in the NBA history in Shaq. Him and Kobe on the same team. Come on, man. Y'all trying to act like that doesn't matter? He went from one good situation to another good situation. Like, what are we talking about here? You went from Michael Jordan and a good team with the Bulls to Kobe Bryant and Shaq and their team. Every last one of those players are considered top 10 players. You can and nobody wouldn't even be mad at you if you put any one of them, all 3 of them, in the top 5. Nobody wouldn't even be mad. But he just keep on trying to leave stuff out on purpose. But I'm catching it. Kobe Bryant and Shaq were crazy together. That 3-peat that they had, it was because of them. It wasn't like I say, the triangle worked good. Now, don't get me wrong, but his triangle don't work without them. It doesn't work without them.
The Last Dance. I'll just summarize as follows. He wanted to continue playing. He was at his peak, the best he'd ever been. He was maddened to retire at his peak. So you want to compete, you're still in your prime, but you choose to retire because you can't keep the same coach and players? Is this your GOAT? Talk about failure to launch.
See how he tried to do that? Even if you want to say that, you got to say the same thing with LeBron. 3 times. Even if you say that, you got to say the same thing. But let's put it into context. What he trying to get off? He's saying because Michael Jordan say he was at his peak and he still could have won another. He felt like they still could have competed for another championship and won another championship or some more championships. That he's not competitive. But then on the other hand, you just gonna act like LeBron didn't do that every year, every 4 years. After he left the Cavs the first time. He couldn't get over the hump, but the first time with the Cavs. So what are we talking about? So he couldn't get over the hump the first time with the Cavs. So he left and went to Miami. Lost. Had a horrible series with the Mavs. Horrible. That discredited him anyway. I don't even know why we even had the conversation still. But it was just a horrible performance that messed up his whole thing. Then they won two. Then he got beat by the Spurs. Now that wasn't his fault, but he lost. Then he went to the Lakers. No. Then he went back to Cleveland. He went back with Kyrie and Love. They lost to the Warriors that year. Kyrie and Love was hurt, but they did lose. They beat the Warriors next year. They were down 3-1. That's a whole nother thing. We can get on that. That's a whole nother thing. I never understood that. But they were down 3-1. So the next year they got beat 2 times in a row. He went to the championship every year. So why are you leaving? If you so competitive, if LeBron James so competitive, why is he leaving every year? And he been in the championship. So just like I said, if you say it about Michael Jordan, you're gonna have to do it 3 times about LeBron James. But you just gonna leave that out.
Just think, if someone says, I only want to compete if, they cannot be considered the most competitive of all time. Why not win?
Who said that? He didn't, I only want to compete if. Who said that? He just saying that he put that in on his own. That has nothing to do with nothing Michael Jordan said. And really, that's what LeBron James did. He only wanted to compete if he had a perfect team. Because for you to make the championship those amount of years and you leave after you just went to the championship, you didn't win, but after you went to the championship, you saying, I only want to compete what if? I only want to compete if. That's what LeBron James said 3 times. If that's what you just going to say somebody said, if you're trying to implicate them in that.
Elsewhere and stick it to Jerry Krause in Reinsdorf. He had every motivation to do so, especially given his purported proclivity for pettiness, revenge, and to take things personal. LeBron, in the eyes of most, is viewed as the lesser competitor. But can you even fathom the possibility of LeBron following a coach around, hinging his career and willingness to compete on a...
See what he doing? But he left every time that he got competition, that he couldn't beat somebody in the West. So basically if you want to say that about Michael Jordan, then you got to say that about LeBron James doing that as a person that leaves every time he couldn't beat somebody in the West. Every time his contract was up, he left the team. Even if they went to the championship. Even if they went to the championship, he left. So you're not comparing the two. You're not even saying both of them the same way. You're just trying to leave stuff out.
Coach, teammate, or organization? Be honest. You can't even fix your brain to imagine that, right? LeBron being the lesser competitor is a form of collective cognitive dissonance. Yes, the masses can be brainwashed with marketing campaigns.
How? How are we brainwashed by something that we seen happen? He left every time he felt like he couldn't win. He actually left every time he felt like he couldn't win. That's what he did. He did that in Cleveland the first time. He did that in Miami the second time. He did that in Cleveland the third time. And now he don't went over there to the West. He lost. He didn't make the playoffs the first year. They won that bubblegum championship the second year. Got in the first round of the third year and got put out. Had to play in the play-in just to even get in that position. And oh, by the way, they made the play-in for him. They made the play-in for LeBron James. And I tell you why I know they did that. They made that play-in that next year because when LeBron James didn't make the playoff, his fans was not watching basketball. That's exactly why they did it. I know they did it. Because that whole year, when they didn't make the playoffs, they say the ratings went down. Their ratings went way down because he didn't make it. However they want to do that, that's fine. But that's what they did. So the play-in was actually made for LeBron James to be able to make the playoffs. Give him a chance to make the playoffs. So now let's count that back since we gonna go with just LA right now. He didn't make the playoffs the first year. The second year they won that bubblegum championship, well, in the bubble. Well, a lot of people was out that season for COVID and they were hurt. Then this year they didn't make the playoffs again. And the only person that was hurt was AD. He had him, Russell Westbrook, and Carmelo Anthony. And they didn't make the playoffs. And he sat out the last few games, and they had a chance to make the play-ins. He sat out the last few games. But you want to talk about being competitive. You want to talk about being competitive. You ain't seen Michael Jordan not be competitive on the court. That's a lie. You ain't gonna be able to say that. You can't get nobody to say that. You can't get him to say, "Oh, I sat out the game so we can miss the playoffs." Because if we had a chance to make the playoffs, I sat out because I knew we couldn't win. That's basically what LeBron James did. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't. This man been trying to get off stuff that's just crazy, man. It's just crazy.
Old heads on sports talk shows, documentaries, and the like. It's what timeless legends are made of. But it's time to wake up from the matrix. One may say his unwillingness to compete is an off-the-court factor. On the court, MJ was a dog. But you know how certain dogs bark and growl when the gate is closed? But as soon as you open it, their ferocity quells. Because they're only a dog in the safety and confines of their home.
He's describing LeBron James. He think he's describing Michael Jordan. He's describing LeBron James. Hey, you only can compete on the court. What are you talking about? That's what basketball is. That's the only way you can compete in basketball is when you're playing in the game. LeBron James did that. What he just said. He is the dog that don't bark. Get in the games and shit down. You can't name that with Michael Jordan. You can't name a game like that with Michael Jordan. Man, y'all gotta start calling these folks out, man. This man right here crazy.
Jordan wasn't a dog when the gate opened for him to compete without a safety blanket. Now, for some people, this might come down to how risk-averse you are. Would you buy a stock proven to perform well only under particular conditions, i.e., Jordan only with Phil Jackson, Pippen, and the Bulls? It might perform well during other conditions, but there's no proof. Or would you buy a stock?
That don't even make sense. Like, that don't even make sense. He performed well under all the conditions that he had. Even when he came in as a rookie, he could perform well. What is you talking about? What is you talking about? See, a lot of people like to leave out this part too about LeBron. LeBron didn't make the playoffs his first 2 years. Everybody know that, right? He didn't make the playoff his first 2 years. Michael Jordan made the playoffs 13 years in a row. 13 years in a row he made the playoffs. No matter how his team was, he made the playoffs. LeBron James didn't make the playoffs his first 2 years. But see, y'all, this dude right here, I don't even know how he got a channel with this stuff he's saying. Logical proof. That ain't none of this logical. Only thing you did was you saying stuff and leaving out other stuff just for your benefit. That's it. You ain't did nothing that was straight up logical. You didn't add nothing together. You just picked one way and just went that way with it. That's the only thing you did.
That you know performs well in all circumstances. Would you take a vaccine when trials were only conducted on Native Americans and your ethnicity was...
And he trying to give LeBron credit for switching teams. How you giving this man... You discredited Michael Jordan for not switching teams. And you giving credit to LeBron James for switching teams. Because you saying because it's not proven that Michael Jordan couldn't win without Phil Jackson. So that means that helps out LeBron's case because he has won with other coaches. When the thing is, people that respect basketball, they don't even look at it that way. We looking at you jumping from team to team just to get, so you can be able to win. So you can have a chance at winning. Michael Jordan didn't do that. He didn't do that. So that's, you proving our point. Like, that makes no sense.
Either African or Caucasian? No, you wouldn't, because you need that missing evidence to feel safe. Maybe the GOAT debate isn't as serious as a vaccine, but if we decided to take it seriously, like your family's life depended on it, you know what you'd choose. Most pundits don't consider Bill Russell as the GOAT. He won 11 rings and 5 league MVPs. Why not? Is it due to the absence of data? If you saw Bill Russell win 11 chips in the 90s or 2000s, he'd be the GOAT hands down. But we tell ourselves, we didn't see him compete in our current league through no fault of his own, so I'm going to hold that against him. My analysis is consistent. He played in...
You said that. You said that you're going to hold it against him earlier, so now you want to try to bring him in again?
League with about 10 teams, so he doesn't make the cut. But what's an MJ disciple's excuse? You don't need to see MJ win with another coach, right? So why do you need to see Bill Russell play in today's league? You can't have it both ways. I know it seems unusual to make a GOAT case without spewing the statistical facts like finals record, points per game, assists per game, PER, and other advanced metrics. My thoughts are that once you have proven to be in the best of class statistically, it becomes redundant to start splitting hairs among players with differing skill sets,
That's what he lost the whole thing at. That's how you know he don't know nothing about basketball. This is the biggest reason. That's the only way you can do that. If you go to doing that type of stuff, when it get down to we saying who the better player, who the best player ever, you gotta split the hairs. You can't just leave stuff so vague. You gotta split the hairs. Who got what? Who does what? Who got the best skill set? Who got the most accolades? That's how you do that. You can't just make up a criteria just for your benefit. Only thing he really talked about is that that Michael Jordan had the same coach and LeBron James had different coaches. That's not how people grade that. That's not that's just crazy, man. That's not how people grade. You just discredited yourself, man.
profiles, and relative team needs. My analysis tries to isolate impact on winning. That's it. In order to do so, we had to peel back the layers of variables to isolate these players. Sometimes the most logically obvious answer is right in front of you. LeBron is the GOAT. If you had to, you'd literally bet your kids' lives on it.
That's the end of that video. Man, this dude right here, I think he was just trolling. I said that to him in his comments. I said, I think you just did this to try to start an argument. But I'm gonna do a video on it because I gotta debunk all this stuff he just said. And all this stuff he just said, I just debunked it. Nothing that he said is credible. Just because he didn't play with more than one team, that don't make you no GOAT. Just because he played with more than 4 coaches and Michael Jordan didn't, that don't make you better than Michael Jordan. That's the only thing he really said was that part. That was it. But anyway, man, y'all tell me what y'all think about this video. Peace.